I would like to call this meeting to order, please. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Ramirez, can you please?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very, very much. Oh, thank you very much. Roll call, Ms. Fobian? Absent. Okay, Mr. Guerrero?
Here.
Mr. Ramirez?
Here.
Mr. Beach?
Present.
And I'm here. We do have a quorum. Okay, we will continue. Okay, now I go to adoption of the agenda, Ms.
No recommend,
Vanderbilt.
no recommended change.
No recommendations, okay. Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So move. Second.
Second, okay, we have a second. Motion passes.
Nope.
No vote. We vote, okay. All, okay, you see, I'm getting there. I got the wrong one.
All those in favor?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay, ayes have it. Okay, so motion passes. Okay, subject to, C, call to the public. Angie, there's nobody there. I don't have to do motion, nothing. Okay, executive session. Subject is the county treasurer matters. And, gotta read all of this, right? Executive session. Notice is hereby given to the general public that the governing board of the Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District number 35 may vote to hold an executive session for discussion or consultation for legal advice with its attorneys and or for discussion or consultation with the attorneys to consider its position and instruct its attorneys regarding county treasurer litigations and related matters. Let's see, the governing board's attorneys may participate in person, virtually, or by telephone. A motion to convey to executive session in the conference room number 125.
So move. Second.
Second, okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No? Okay, ayes have it. Okay, we are going to be going to room 125. Reconvene to regular session.
So move.
Second, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, ayes have it. Okay, we are reconvened. Okay, so number 3, presentation, a superintendent's report, Ms. Lunderville.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a couple of announcements. Congratulations to all of our students who participated in the spelling bee, the county level spelling bee last Friday. Unfortunately, we did not come in the top 2, but it still was a great experience for our students. Congratulations to girls soccer. They have made it to a play-in game for the girls 4A state playoff title. Wrestling, we know of one state female qualifier, but I'm not aware if there are any males.
Your tournament's this weekend, Dr. Lund.
Boys have a tournament this weekend, so hopefully we get some gentlemen into the state qualifying wrestling meet. We do have one far. And girls basketball, they are poised to, they have two regular season games left, but they're going to make it into the playoffs as well. A quick update on the pool and the aquatic center. The heater is on and functioning. The pool is currently at 69 degrees. It was 71, so it's kind of vacillated a little bit where we've been monitoring the use of the propane because this is a new project for all of us. And so we have been looking at that. Our intent is to open on the weekends in the next few weeks. But the heaters do work. They are functioning. Our goal temperature is 78 degrees. That's the recommended. And then we'll probably come back with some discussion once we have an idea of costs. Enrollment for next year, preschool, kinder, and open enrollment will begin March 1st. We're excited about that. And then many of you have asked questions about Title IX. Just an announcement that the district has immediately reverted back to the 2020 regulations from the new administration, and we are working with the trust to determine whether or not we will just re-adopt policy, but we will need to bring that back to the governing board and to the community. Other than that, that's all that I have, Madam President.
Thank you very, very much. Moving on, governing board member report, Mr. Guerrero.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you. I'm gonna get variance here. You know what, I'll just pass on to Mr. Beach.
Okay, Mr. Beach, can you?
Hey, thank you for the pass. Okay, I just received it.
Mhm.
I think February is CTE month, so I want to thank Mr. Navarro and his staff for getting our kids, you know, patients. I think we have an amazing CTE program, and it definitely gives our kids, our students here at Rio Rico High School a different pathway other than the traditional college route. So thanks to Mr. Navarro and all the staff and all they do for our Rio Rico students. Yes, Jessens Callejo, she's our female wrestler. She did take sectionals. She's just as good as her brother Jesse James Octavio Callejo. He's got like 4. But I really think that she has the technique and the strength to actually take a state title.
Really good.
So I'm really excited. It's gonna be in 2 weeks from now, and she'd be our first female at a female all-state tournament to become the first state champion out of Rio Rico. You know, and what's cool about it is we have a state championship wall, and her brother Jesse's there. He would be right next to him. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, her picture and her stats. So best of luck to Jessens. Boys regionals are this week, so hopefully sneak 1 or 2 in. And then the following week is state, so good luck to all the wrestlers up there. Thanks all the principals. I know I sent you an email, but thanks for all the gifts. I'm sporting them right now. And I just want to say I did win a PAW award. So I don't know if any of the board members received a PAW award. But if you did, don't voice it because I want to bask in my sunlight.
I got one.
I told my daughter and she goes, Dad, they have so many awards over there.
Mhm.
But this is the best one, right? She just looked at me. And thank you for the power word. And that's all I got. Thank
All
you.
righty, good job, Mr. Mr. Ramirez.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Mhm.
Yes, I also want to thank you all for the gifts that you gave us. They're really cool. So in the past, I had asked you to give them to the kids, but somehow or another, they made them back to me and I'm happy with them. So, but thank you so much and I appreciate it. I want to try to get out to schools. I've been really busy with my own job down south, so it's been kind of hard this year, but I want to get out and of course, out there to give you a hard time, just like to visit you guys, say hello, let you know that I'm around, you know? So don't feel intimidated if I do go, just for constructive purposes only. So, because I know you guys do a good job. You guys know me well. If I thought there was a serious problem, trust me, I'd be there, as you well know. Might not have liked that comment, but you know, I'm just being honest with you. I don't see anything. I think you guys are really strong. You do a great job. We have great representation in our district, great leadership. So all across the board, even you, Macon. So thank you. I want to congratulate Damian Ramirez, senior at Rio Rico High School, competed in the criminal justice leadership and took third in the competition. Good job. Way to go. And shout out to San Cayetano for taking the lead in the district step challenge. Really cool. Good job, man. Although it might be a little unfair because the Munchkins, they have to take more steps than the older. And I just wanted to share something with you. That's what I was trying to look for and I had on my phone. Tom Horn, who I'm not a big fan of, but he partnered with Cartwheel, which is telehealth program, and they're offering services for rural districts. So I just wanted to know whether you guys knew anything about it or whether we're involved in that.
Yes, Mr. Ramirez, I had a meeting last Thursday with Cartwheel and we have another meeting scheduled March 6th to review the agreements.
Thank you, because you know, anything for our kids, anything that we can get, you know, for our kids, from the state, good thing. And we all know that a lot of kids suffered a lot of mental health challenges during COVID and even after that. So anything that we can get to help our kids out, I'm all for. So thank you, Madam President. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all of you. Yes, the same piggyback on everybody, you know, thank you very much, especially to the principals and the schools for all of their gifts. We were really, really fantastic, like always. You guys go above and beyond. Okay, thank you very, very much. You know, to make us feel good and make us feel, you know, that we deserve all of this. But in actuality, you guys are the ones that deserve it because you're the ones that do all the work over there. But thank you very much, you know, and just congratulations to all the people and the, you know, all the students that are participating in sports, you know, especially the boys that are going to be going for the wrestling. You know, congratulations, and I hope they bring, you know, they make us proud again, you know, always, always. I was able to go to the two-back fair, okay, and it was, I have a lot of fun with that, okay? You know, seeing a lot of people, seeing so many, I mean, it was just so packed over there. You know, Mr. Fanning was running up and down all over the place and, you know, so it was really a lot of fun to go down there and, you know, and see all the community, you know, a lot of people, all the kids and everybody, you know, trying to have a good time and everything. So also, Mr. Chavez, you did something at your school with the hand where the kids came over and did that. I don't know what it was called, but I got pictures of that. You know, what was it called? I'm sorry. Mark your paw, yeah, because the kids did so good with the testing and all that stuff. I thought that was amazing. I thought that was really, really cool. You know, the kids were all there, you know, your kids, I had got pictures from your kids, you know, and they're all putting them there. That's, you know, that's what it's all about, you know, making our kids feel that they make a difference and stuff. So thank you. Kudos to all of you. And that's it. Thank you very much. Okay, so moving forward, number 4, information, discussion, action, Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District policies, Miss Lunderville.
I'm just gonna hand out a couple samples.
Mhm.
Ms. Lunderville, these are the same that you sent us, right? On the slide, nothing changed?
I apologize. There's one additional, it reads Apache Junction on the bottom. It's a sample of an
Gotcha.
existing policy that Ms. Brown would get. I don't know how to turn this on. Not on.
No, I got it.
Does it need to be on for the? All right, so during our last meeting, we talked a little bit about liquidated damages. It's been a topic that I think is important to the board. And so I developed just a quick PowerPoint just to guide our conversation. And we do not have to make any policy adoption tonight. We do need to determine how we want to do because we have contracts coming out soon, and we'd like to bring back any possible policy revisions to the next board. So the first question, and I believe Mr. Guerrero brought it up, the district wants to assess liquidated damages. If Audra, I don't know if you can click on the link that is right there. I went ahead and pulled all of either liquidated damages policies. You can see it's quite substantial. The one thing that I found, if you scroll down, you can see these are all of the districts that have a policy pertaining to liquidated damages or reporting to the Department of Education, which is no longer something that they look into when someone vacates, but most districts have a policy or a procedure directly related to liquidated damages. What I did find is that the amounts are all over the place.
Yeah.
Some districts charge a flat amount. You can go back to the presentation, thank you. A lot of districts charge one flat amount. So it does not matter at what point in which you request to be released from your contract, it's a flat amount. One other thing that I noticed is that some districts have very specific reasoning behind when those damages can be waived, others do not. So if you can go to the next slide. So as I mentioned, the average ranges for liquidated damages are kind of all over the place. Currently, our district has a tiered system, so it depends upon when you request to be released, what amount is charged. We certainly can wants to move forward with assessing liquidated damages. We certainly can do that tiered system, or we could determine one flat rate. Sahuarita, for example, is going to one flat rate. And I don't know if Ms. Cabrera is here, but I believe it's 1,200. 1,200. So regardless of when requests to be released, the assessment would be 1,200. Whatever we do decide, it has to go in employment contracts. So again, we'll need to make a decision how we want to move forward. So I'll pause there. So the first, discussion point for the board is whether or not we want to move forward with assessing liquidated damages. Part of what districts use is one, it kind of puts us in a bad position to have someone leave mid-year, right? We sometimes have to pay out that individual leave. And then there's portions of a sub or whatever. So those are some of the struggles and some of the reasoning why initially this board had moved that to assessing liquidated.
Well, me personally, I think we should assess or not assess liquidated damages. So I think it'd be, yeah.
Would you like me, Mr. Guerrero, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
I just have a couple of questions. I think the biggest question I have is this, it sounds like everybody across, everybody's doing, right? It's at some,
Say everyone is,
The majority.
no, but it was challenging for me to find a district that is not imposing some level of monetary damages.
does this discourage anybody from coming over to our district? I mean, have we had that discussion or anything like that? Does it discourage people from employment or anything like that? Because it's pretty standard.
I can tell you that it's never been a question. I hire a number of individuals here and I've never had anyone ask specifically about liquidated damages. I think what's important is that if we do choose to move forward with this, that we have very specific criteria in terms of who is charged and when they are charged, and really flesh that out, because I think for this board, there have been some gray areas, and I think my recommendation is to firm that up should we choose to move forward.
Thank-
I don't,
Say something there. I think it's tacitly understood that every district has this. So no, it's not, really doesn't determine.
Okay.
Dissuade anybody. I don't know.
I think the shortage is what it is, and I don't feel like this is not a reason why we consistently see, even when employees leave our district, they usually fill out a survey with the reasoning why. I've never once had that specific topic be a deterrent or a reason.
Anything else, Mr. Guerrero?
Not at this
No?
time.
Okay, Mr. Ramirez?
Yeah, well, to me, it's quite obvious. It's very obvious. It's common sense, very super obvious that we have to have a way to hold people's feet to the fire like any other district. Or otherwise, principals will struggle. These guys can just take off on you whenever they want to, and there will be no consequence. Imagine having that kind of a world here. We have to have a way to hold their feet to the fire with regard to their contract. So for me, it's clear we need that. We need to assess the damages, but that's not really what's in question. For me, that's not what was in question. What was in question were the extenuating circumstances that we had. And that's a big can of worms there. And I would strongly recommend that we discuss this with the superintendent when he comes back in a study session, because there's a lot of stuff that we could put in here to be more on guard so that we're not treating one person one way and another person another way. That's what we've done here. And it's disgusting because people can come back and they could sue us for it. And we're not just thinking, it's not just individuals here, it's not just me, or like I mentioned before, Mr. Fanning, because really our situations were parallel and we got treated differently, completely differently for the same parallel circumstances. And we're gonna get sued if we're not careful with this kind of stuff. We have to be consistent, just like parents have to be consistent, just like leadership has to be consistent, just like the governing board has to be consistent. We have to be consistent with our rules and how we enforce them. So otherwise, we're gonna run into a lot of problems. So I would strongly suggest that we have a study session, which means that we would sit around, all of us, and discuss it and come up with a list of things, maybe for the extenuating circumstances. And it would take some time, so I'm glad that you had mentioned we don't have to vote on anything tonight, because I thought we should.
You don't have to vote tonight, but please keep in mind that as we approach contract season, and I believe those contracts are set to be brought to the board the first week of March, that would only leave the next meeting to really nail down the specifics. And if not, we can't go back after we've already approved contracts and issued them and add a clause for liquidated damages. As I mentioned in the very first memo that I sent to the board, as it stands right now, there is no circumstance that allowably grants anyone to waive those liquidated damages the way it stands right now. There is no procedure or policy in place that lists medical or spouse moving. The way it's listed right now, it's in the contract. We should be assessing it to everyone, and they shouldn't have the opportunity to even request to be released without them.
So if I'm hearing what Mr. Ramirez is saying, I'm just looking at the existing one that's in the contract. You have the process for waiving damages. Let me go back first, let me see.
Yeah, the contract language just has the amounts.
Yeah, so process for waiving damages, employee notification and resignation process, which is pretty standard. Then it gets reviewed by superintendent and HR department, and then it comes to the board. What I would recommend, just for common practice, is maybe we should go into executive session to discuss the individual, because if the superintendent says, I want to waive it, but there's 3 of us that don't agree, we go into executive session, you could say, we're not consistent. This employee such and such and this employee, same exact circumstances. And then we can, have a discussion and then come out and take a vote.
And you always have that option. It's
Yeah.
always listed on.
Oh, it's an option, but what he's saying is that we should always do that.
That-
Because sometimes people feel uncomfortable. Tell you that I've seen that happen with a lot of governing board members. They feel uncomfortable to discuss it. You know, and
Does,
in public, also there's issues, as you well know, as everybody knows here, that we don't want to discuss in open public because it's embarrassing to individuals. And
we also don't have the right to do that unless we notice them and give them the opportunity to be here. So there are certain rules. I mean, does the board even have an appetite to have extenuating circumstances? We don't need to have any procedure or policy.
Well, I do. I think that there are extenuating circumstances. There are a lot of them. They're things that we can't even dream about in this room here. I mean, there's so many of them.
The common.
We do have them and they happen to families and they're tragic things that happen. And we should have extenuating circumstances unless we're just absolutely heartless, you know, which we're not.
Right.
That is in our thing, where professional advancement within the educational sector, retirement through Arizona State Retirement, relocation, verified medical needs. There is if a spouse moves
Correct.
out. So there is,
That's not in policy right now,
no,
though.
it's not.
But this is the prior policy that we had with some additional massage language that I put in there, just so the board had a place to start. If they chose to do so. So
I like Mr. Beach's idea because that could maybe even prevent a study session. If we have that, then people would be able to discuss it in the governing board executive room. And like, I think honestly, the superintendent's kind of caught off guard on that one. He himself, I think, didn't really remember flashback. He can't. I mean, he's got so much on his plate. He's not gonna remember all those details. So I think Mr. Beach is right. If we just had a chance that if we made it policy, that we have to go in there and discuss it. You know, if it's something simple, we're just gonna go for a minute and come right back out. But if it's something that we didn't foresee, it's kind of nice to have that discussion.
the recommended language is job transfer of a spouse, medical or disability reasons, job promotion, like someone moves into being a principal, we usually haven't, or, you know, a different higher level position. And then a lot of districts have other exception or good cause reasons that could then be discussed in executive session. But we do need to determine the parameters. We can't just go into executive session and not have the parameters in which to operate, if that makes sense. I mean, every district that I have come across, including those who still have ASBA, they're pretty standard. Advancement, transfer of a spouse, or a
Medical reason.
There are times when it's in the best interest of our district, either for legal reasons, or behavior of an employee, you'll go ahead and cut ties with them. That good cause exemption allows the board to have that conversation in executive session.
And the superintendent too.
What'd you say?
And the
Yeah,
superintendent.
with, an executive session with.
Right, what I meant is that he has his say with regard to explaining things just too
Yes.
in depth, so.
Yeah, and if you look at any time that this board has been asked to waive or assess liquidated damages, they have had the option to go into executive session. So now that you guys are aware of that, you definitely can do that. But for example, if I'm on the next governing board to resign and I just want to, you know, I come up with some reason and I ask and this and that, my reason doesn't matter. The way it reads right now is I have to pay $1,000. There is we cannot continue to have discussions about requests for liquidated damages moving forward because we don't have any parameters in which to operate.
So looking at the proposed one, I like it. I would add at the end, payment and enforcement, employees will receive an invoice upon resignation payable within 30 days unless a waiver is granted. Non-payment may result in legal action or reporting to state education agencies as permitted by law. Just to add that one paragraph to the existing draft. As far as the amount, it says to be determined.
Yeah, I left that because.
Yeah, I think
you guys want.
I actually like the amount on the current contract language.
Yeah,
which
the
was-
3, the 2 and the 1.
The 3, 2, and 1.
Yeah.
2, 1. Mhm.
But I think if I'm hearing you, we need to move forward on this, and I think
That's
a lot of things, you know, if we have concerns to just go into exec session.
Right, I would like to see that added on there, that we have to go into exec session for each single one. This way,
Typically,
nobody's
since
caught off
it's not
guard.
Part of policy, Mr. Ramirez, I can ask, normally, we don't dictate in policy that the governing board is required to go into any executive session.
Well, he already explained the whole shebang, and I don't wanna go over it again, but that would allay a lot of my.
Let me ask that question because I don't know what type of language we can put in too.
And it might not be, if you wanna add it, we could just say, you know, I'd like to go into exec session to discuss.
Yeah,
this
because that, like you said, we don't have to go to every single one. I mean, why? If we know the reason, I mean, and it's valid or whatever. One of the other things that we have is that we get the recommendation from our principals, and we need to take those into consideration too. You know, the principals also have voices, you know, and they say, well, you know what, I agree that this person should, you know, be, you know, we should, you know, get the money on. And sometimes they say, let's just let it go because they've been having a real hard time all year. We don't know that, you know what I'm saying? But the principals do. So we have to also take into consideration the principals, you know, what they recommend. Okay, because that's what we've been doing the last couple of times is, you know, it was, you know, principal recommends that we assess damages, or principal recommends that we waive the damages. And we've gone with that, you know, the majority of the time. Now, if we have issues, okay, then we can go to executive session. If we see that we're not in, you know, in agreement with all of us, but I think that the language is.
What I can probably.
Excuse me.
Any reservation is that the option to go in executive session is agendized always. It's required
Mhm.
procedurally under the statute. The employee also has the right for you
To be present.
they can ask that it be discussed in open
Oh.
session.
Mhm.
That's why sometimes when people start talking specifically about the employee, you'll see me kind of you, because unless they have given us notice that they're fine with us talking about them in open session, we should go into
Should go into
a session anyways.
Yeah, for, out of respect.
Well, it's covered by law.
By law.
They could sue us for talking about them in an open board meeting without so we should always go in executive session, so, but I'll pull the statute, Mr. Ramirez, so I can confirm that it always is.
'Cause otherwise, we're just gonna say business as usual, and then nothing's gonna change.
And what about the reasonings that, is there other?
I think that's standard.
I think that's standard, yeah.
Before we send and we're not adopting any of this, we're gonna bring it back another time.
Just wanna see us do something about the extenuating circumstances and be more consistent about it.
Right,
It's my angle.
so the way this reads, right, the way that we're proposing is that there would only be 3 valid reasons: medical, relocation of a spouse, or the individual is being promoted to a position that is higher than what they're currently, where they're currently at.
Again, Dr. Lunderville, I think that's gonna not encompass all of the possibilities, of all the things that could come about. And when we make it, there could be so many things that happens to a family, an individual, all kinds of things. Nothing said in there about death in the family, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many things that could happen. And that we can't even dream of right here, right
Would
now.
probably fall under other exceptions or good cause reasons that then could be discussed during the executive session as to why. I think having those 3 main reasons really help people think about whether or not their circumstance is extenuating. But of course, if someone's spouse passes away and they need to move on to, that's a discussion that you can have in executive session. If they have a child that is ill or a family member that's ill and they're not going to qualify for extended leave or FMLA, sometimes that's in our best interest, and we may, I think talking about it, I keep pointing over there because that's where we go, but going into executive sessions allows you to have those conversations freely, where then you're not breaking anyone's confidentiality rights in an open session.
Well,
right.
the root of this problem is why have we ruled one way for one person and ruled another way for another person when they have the exact parallel?
I
That's
think,
ridiculous. Even you and I talked about that once. And
I mean, I think by really having a policy and a conversation and an understanding that we will go to executive session if anyone on the board wants to have a discussion, would help curb some of that. Also as board makeup changes, I think it's important that we provide new board members or returning board members with training on understanding the policies. It is a lot initially, I understand, but, I do think that I agree. I think we need to have a more, your board needs to have a more consistent approach to reviewing them.
I really appreciate that comment. I think I'm still trying to understand, right? You know, I heard something about retention, right? I don't think this is the tool for retention. I understand the consequence of people leaving, you know, midway and stuff like that. But I don't think this is a tool for retention, right? For me, retention is treating people well, you know, giving opportunities, all that good stuff, right? So, you know, this is just strictly for purposes of making up money of what it costs to get somebody else hired, get them through the process and all that stuff. Is that correct?
Pretty much, and,
Pretty much, yeah.
Jar is here as well, but I mean, for the most part, that is true. We never try to, I've never used it as an administrator as a tool to threat. It's not intended for that. It's intended to protect the district for the losses that we're gonna incur as a result of having an employee. The other thing that sometimes the board, I don't know if they're aware of or not, but we do have challenges covering classes. So that means other teachers, now they're compensated for it, but they still miss out on planning time. Or I can tell you personally, as the assistant superintendent, I've covered multiple classes and I've gone in and covered when we've been short with SPED teachers because you have to have certain credentials to be in that room. I mean, that's a loss to have, you know, a district level person going, it's not a lot. I don't feel like it's a loss. Our kids need what they need, but if you look at the big picture, I had to sacrifice something to do that. And I think our administrators can also attest that they spend time covering classes as well, so.
So a quick follow-up question to that is, have we looked at these numbers to make sure that they still coincide? I don't know how old they are or are they still up to date?
Yeah, so currently, that's our current contract language is less than 30 days, less than 60 days, and then anything after that, it's 3, 2, 1. Other contract languages that other districts I was able to receive, there's a 1,500, some districts charge a 1,500 flat fee. It doesn't matter when you leave. Other districts are charging 2,500 for less than 30 days. Others are charging 1,000 if they've completed more than 30 days. So the dollar amount, like I said, it's all over the place. Ms. Brown also reached out and Ms. Cabrera, we reached out to other districts to get information and it was all over the place. I think you guys will agree. There wasn't like a standard. I saw one district as low as $750. So the dollar amount, I think really is on geographically where the district is located and also just the sheer number of, we don't have, I know it seems like we have a high number sometimes, like looking at board agendas and people leaving, but I think in the big picture, we really don't have a lot of employees making that request.
Yeah.
if it's okay with the board, I'd say go ahead and move forward.
I would agree.
So what I can do is I can take all of the feedback and create a draft. Would we like
Send
to
it out to us.
policy or
Yeah.
procedure? A policy is
I think a policy would be a lot better, right?
I don't have any concern either way. I think with a policy, we can attach statute, but do keep in mind that the State Board of Education is no longer, in the past, if you just left your contract, the State Board of Education would take your teaching certificate away. I don't know if they had the right to fine, I'm not sure, but they are no longer.
I believe Dave said they don't do that.
Right. So, I mean, that piece of it, is something that, you know, kind of falls to the district to decide at this point.
Even despite that, in spite of that, we still have to have a deterrent ourselves to protect the district.
Well, yeah, it definitely can.
Yeah, that would be nice if you put that together and send it out to us. It'd be-
If anyone has any additional language or, things they'd like to see added.
Yeah, have a chance.
I like what Mr. Beach was saying, you know, to put that little clause, so you know, you got that one, okay? Cause I like that one. I think we need that one there as well, you know, so that, you know, so again, not to be mean with anybody, but.
No, I don't think our intent
No.
to make it a punitive thing. It's what we need to do to protect.
To protect us and to protect, you know, our principals and our teachers and everybody else, so. And your students, because if you got a teacher that's there for, you know, for half a year, whatever, and then you're like, you know, they're barely starting to, to get with that teacher, and then the teacher is gone and a different one comes in, it's real.
I also do not want teachers who don't want to be here to.
Exactly,
That.
yeah, there's that little,
Yeah.
the gray area.
We want to try to do what's best for our students, and I
Everybody.
think adhering to whatever the board decides and then using the executive session that you have agendized anytime there's a request for release would probably be a good practice. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Sounds good,
Thank you.
thank you. What in the middle? Okay, so now, next subject, propose and prioritize topics and possible dates and times for future board meetings. Ms. Lunderville?
Haven't received, thank you, Madam President. I have not received any additional requests for future topics. Does that list still? Is the board?
Good.
Yeah, it looks good. Look at it. You have it? Mm-hmm, yeah.
So does anybody know?
Does anybody have any questions?
Additional topics they'd like
Anything?
added?
Okay, yes.
I'd like to get an FYI on the cartwheel thing that
Certainly.
On what?
telehealth, the cartwheel that went out from the superintendent for the rural school districts. So if you could give us an FYI on that to see where we stand and what we're doing, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, all righty. Anybody else? Anybody else have anything? Anything to add? Nope. No, all righty. So we move on, right? Consent agenda, approval of the consent agenda.
There's no recommended changes to the consent agenda.
All right.
To read any matter on the consent agenda.
Okay, here we go. All right, so there's any matter on the consent agenda will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed as regular agenda item or items upon the request of any board member. Does anybody have anything to add? Anything? No? What about you, Mr. Ramirez? No, Mr. Beach? And I have none either, okay? So, motion to approve and accept, what is it? Yeah, the
Consent agenda.
rectify the consent agenda as presented, sorry.
So moved.
Second, okay. What is it? Any further, discussions? Nope. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Okay, the next one is- What else is there? That's it, what I do. All righty, so now, how do I?
Adjourn.
How do I adjourn? Okay, this meeting is adjourned at 6:10.